we're here at PDAC 2020, and again, I'm having a very special guest every year. I'm very happy. Jayant Bhandari, he's an institutional advisor for many groups here in the mining sector. Jayant, thanks for being on the segment again.
Thanks for having me, Sunny.
A lot has happened in the last week, eh? A lot of things have happened with the gold price, the silver price, but before we get to that, which is the main topic for a lot of the interviews that I'm doing today, you did some really interesting commentary lately on a big Indian discovery.
Right.
It seems too good to be true. Okay, but
right.
I have to mention just a few things that you that was mentioned in the media. So basically, in India, they discovered a brand new mine, 3,500 tons, 112 million ounces gold discovered in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India, and it's supposedly 5 times the reserves of India as a whole, and valuation of $118 billion. Too good to be true. Well, what's your comment on this?
So
all of the media there in India.
So the very interesting thing is, Sunny, that the mining guy of Uttar Pradesh government came out and said that they had discovered a mine. Now you don't discover a mine, you discover a project.
Exactly.
A mine is when something goes into production. And apparently all they had done was to drill a couple of holes, 1 or 2 decades back. And then they might have flown a helicopter survey, which I'm seriously doubtful about because they don't really have the budget to do those things. But even if they did all that, just based on a couple of historical drill holes and helicopter survey, the mining guy came out claiming that they had discovered mine of 112 million ounces of gold in the ground.
Right.
Now, not only he said that, a federal minister, Hardeep Singh, came out immediately after him, after the mining guy, saying that now days of India have changed. And basically the whole country, the media was extraordinarily euphoric, quite rightly, because they thought that India was going to be another UAE. It was going to be one of the richest country on the back of that mine.
Right.
Now, of course, I wrote about it. I interviewed with a couple of mining journal and a couple of other journals. And the next day, the government of India had been made a huge amount of fun of. They realized that they had to take corrective action. And here is the last statement, which is going to shock you. Then they came out saying that all they had was 4,800 ounces in a national park infested with snakes and insurgents. There's absolutely no way that this project is ever going to be a mine on probability adjusted basis.
Yeah.
And listen, I know there are probably 10,000 or 100,000 projects in the world with 5,000 ounces in the ground. What's the big deal?
So how did they even come to this conclusion in the media to say that they had this much gold? Like what?
So Trump was arriving the next day, and they wanted to create this euphoria. This was a part of a propaganda, and they thought they could get away with that. Critical thinking is not a part of the Indian psyche, Sunny. People don't think and challenge things, and anything that triggers their greed and lust, they all fall for it because they want to believe it.
Yeah.
India has a history of going into complete hysteria.
Right.
In the past, there have been cases in which a statue of the god was drinking milk, and the whole country was euphoric, and the whole country went into hysteria. So this is not uncommon for India, and unfortunately, because they don't challenge it, and if you challenge them, they call you anti-national. And I've received a lot of hate mails calling me anti-national for what I wrote.
Interesting. Very unfortunate. Let's see then. What is we've seen a lot of things happen in the last week with regards to the coronavirus, especially with its effect on the precious metals prices. We're seeing gold on a very strong rally prior to the coronavirus getting even more worse, where it was trading on 1680, 1690, dropped all the way down to 1570, staying around the 1580 range now. Silver went as high as 1880, went down to now around mid-16 price level. What is your thoughts on the coronavirus and its impact on the mining sector as a whole, or even on the precious metal prices going forward?
Sunny, the very best time to make money is a time like this, when other people are not buying stocks and they are not buying commodities, and there are a lot of sellers in the market. People who have to reduce their risks, people who own too much of those things have got to reduce their risks, and the fear hysteria has kicked into the market. This is exactly when you can buy these things at 20, 30, 40% discount to what these things were trading at 1 or 2 weeks back. This is the formula to make money, particularly if you have cash and particularly if you're prepared on what you should be buying. I am personally loading up on many of these junior mining companies. I'm also loading up on Chinese stocks listed in Hong Kong. This is a great opportunity. As far as gold and silver is concerned, I think coronavirus scare is far more than the reality should have been. When the scare subsides, gold price, in my view, might correct, but there are underpinning reasons why gold and silver should continue to do better in the medium and long term, and that is that economies around the world are stagnating, and apart from that of China, I'm still a big bull on China. I'm a big fan of China, but most other countries will stagnate because they're not doing the right things.
It will be slow.
The printing money might seem to work in the short term, but it actually destroys the economy even more in the medium and long term. So in an ideal scenario, if I were in charge, I would say stop printing money, let the market go through corrections, and let the market become a rational market in which overinvestment gets corrected, malinvestments get corrected, and that is the only way you can stabilize the economy. Money should move from the hands of the weak hands to stronger hands. That is where economic growth happens. Money should move from weak industries to higher value-added industry where capital has a higher leveraged effect. That is how you maximize growth. So no, stop printing monies. It will be painful in the short term, but when you go to the gym, it's painful, but it's a good day thereafter.
Yeah, of course. So how does this affect gold consumption by Indians and by China, which is the two largest markets for gold?
Well, listen, Chinese people buy gold because they need to diversify their risk. Contrary to conventional understanding, Chinese currency has been among the best performing currencies. Mostly even better than the US dollar. Because remember, not only it's sort of pegged with the US dollar, you get a much higher interest rate in China. So Chinese economy has done well. I have done very well investing in Chinese stocks. Chinese interest rate is good, and there are many avenues in China. You can keep money with Alibaba, for example, and get a very good interest rate. So people have all sorts of things, but they also want to buy gold because this country has emerged as a stronger nation over the last 3 decades. They have cash surplus, and they will continue to buy gold. Now remember, China will have problems for the next 6 months, maybe the next 2 years. But the underpinning cultural and social and political factors are such that China will emerge victorious from all these things and much stronger. So I continue to bet on China.
Okay, so you still think that China will still grow, there'll still be Chinese gold consumption, but how about Indian gold consumption?
Listen, the problem with India, Sunny, is that Indians are extremely irrational and tribal people. Indians are giving up on the institutions that the British left behind for them. India is fragmenting. There are riots in the country. They have bad economic policies. It's a democracy. Everything is based on demagoguery and propaganda. The focus is not on real wealth creation. The focus is on emotionally satisfying the masses' demand for bread and circuses. So India is in this vicious cycle, and I see absolutely no way out for India. Indian economy, in my view, is stagnating. Despite that, I know World Bank and IMF continue to claim that India is growing at a fast rate. India is stagnating, and my guess is it might even be in a negative phase of growth. India is in a horrible shape, and there's no reason why you should invest in India. Indians by themselves have very limited options else than buying gold and silver to protect their savings. Indians will buy as much of cash they have, but if the economy deteriorates, they might not have enough cash to buy what they want to buy.
Interesting. Okay. So then let's go back to one of the earlier points you made about the sector overall, where you are loading up. 2 points. One, what are you looking at in terms of jurisdictions, stage of development of mining companies? Well, what fits your bill?
Right.
First answer that, and then I'll go to the next
so
question.
I mostly avoid the third world countries. Now, I'm okay with Peru, and I'm okay with some of the Latin American jurisdictions, but mostly I focus on the first world countries. First world countries might look expensive, but first world countries have the rule of law even today. Although first world countries are losing it, but they still have the rule of law. So I mostly focus on first world countries. I avoid Africa. I avoid most of the third world countries. So that is where my jurisdictional issue comes in. Now, of course, I might be able to make a better amount of valuation in third world countries, but if everything gets stolen by the government, why should I bother investing in the third world countries? So first world countries. Now, what kind of companies am I interested in? I mostly pay attention to junior mining companies, and even when I invest in China outside the mining industry, I like a small companies, penny stock kind of companies, because not many people pay attention to those companies.
Right.
Volatility is high, and that gives me an opportunity to buy at a very cheap price compared to the underlying valuation of those companies. So I am after valuation. If I can get a good price to value difference in a big company, I would go for a big company, but usually I find that in a small company, and that could be gold mining, it could be any mining, it could be outside the mining sector, but because I understand mining sector more, a lot of my time and investment goes in the mining sector, but right now I'm also loading up on Chinese stocks because I see very good value in some of the small companies there.
Junior exploration then is what you're looking at? Not any producers or anything like that?
I do look at some producers as well. There are several small junior producing companies as well, and they are $20-25 million worth of companies, and they are so small that not many people have valuations or understanding on those companies, and I'm very happy buying those companies right now. And those companies have also suffered the most in the last 3 years of extreme volatility because they are not followed very well. In a volatile market, their shares tend to fall a lot because there are not enough people knowledgeable about those companies. The bids disappear very quickly, and sellers are, of course, always there.
Right.
So this is an opportunity in my view.
Interesting. Well, I'm pretty sure you answered my next question. I was going to ask you if you're a bull or bear, but I guess you're a bull.
Sunny, I have been in the investment business for the last 16 years. The best time of my career was 2008 when the swine flu epidemic hit the market. There was fear in the market, and also the financial crisis had hit the market. So I did extremely well in that duration. Keep yourself well balanced, root to objectivity, keep yourself on a solid ground. Don't be swayed by hysteria, and wash your hands, put the mask on, and look for opportunities to make money when everyone is scared, because when reason fights with emotions and hysteria, reason wins.
Yes. Well, interesting. Very great insight, Jayant. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And if you have any further questions, I'll put the description below, and you can get in touch with Jayant if you have any questions. But other than that, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much for the opportunity.